Hello everyone, this is the Method Race newscast here. Would it be alright if we went straight into the rip clip, or should we do it after for a special someone here? Because I
I
think
don't
it.
think we do. We have the rip clip for.
Yeah, I do. It's right here.
Okay, perfect.
Alright, so this just in, Ty just died to a Beyond boss, like the same second that we went live here. You can see Ty gets rather low, disconnects, attempts to log out, and just dies.
Hi.
I mean, there's no reaction whatsoever. You can tell that Crying is just in full zombie mode here. I mean, at least in my opinion. I mean, he
What?
just keeps mapping, dude. This does make Team Avengers very susceptible to quite a lot of damage, but other than this breaking news here, let's get into this team standings. All right. Aside from that, we have the team standings. So regardless of Ty dying, the Avengers are still in first place, with Crying being in first by quite a large margin. But he has not gone to sleep for quite a while, as dictated by the clip there. All right, looking at the characters, obviously Crying is the carry here. Still, we have Gucci as the Stormbrand Delver. They're not doing too much boss killing. It doesn't look like they're going to go for that Shaper Amulet, which is super nice. Ty 23 did just die, as we saw, and so he won't be gaining any more experience from here on out. It will be interesting to see what he does from here on out, as he might play until level 68 and then get those juicy supports up and running once again. And so that is a possibility to see from Tide 23 there, just to make Crying a little bit more safer in those tier 16s. We have Kamel still farming up currency, and so there hasn't been too much in the way of gains. Um, the progress, it says maps tier 10 to 15, but really it's tier 14 to 16 here. They're really just sustaining those tier 15s and above, occasionally dipping down whenever their pool gets low, rebuilding it up, and they just have a ton more maps. Overall, looking like they're in a very solid spot, but as we just mentioned, the Tide 23 rip does complicate things a little bit. Going on to Team 2 here, we have Method, as usual. Uh, very very good team, but the only issue they have here is that Zizarin is the only one that may be able to take home the cake. Zizarin is level 97, and Havoc did reroll into a support here, no longer going Winter Orb, but instead going a similar Occultist build to that of Tai 23. We have Steel Mage still farming up currency, and Nugian as the dedicated Delver. We have the strategy of farming up Shaped Moon Temples, and they did just get their Elder Underground Seas not too long ago, so it will be interesting to see how much experience they can get within the next couple days here. Again, they are dipping back into their pool of lower red tier maps every now and again, but it's getting the sustain's just getting better and better for this team. So overall looking like they're in a pretty good spot. They started with solo mapping. They did push on into duo mapping with Havoc 616 on the support. Does seem like it's a little bit unprepared by them, but it might end up paying off in the end. Going on to team number 3 here, we have Monkey Squad. Again, just Rathlos absolutely holding it down with that Isle of Righteous Fire build. He's currently 97. Heshla and Leaf not making too much progress, but definitely farming up currency for Rathalos. Adventura did die a little bit earlier today, and so it does seem like with the slash who is that Rathalos is in those toxic sewers quite a lot. Not quite sure if that means that it's eldered or shaped or if he's doing other maps, but there's definitely a pretty big possibility there. Still not even sure what tier they're in, but they are within pretty deep delve there. I believe all teams are within the I level 83 monster area. And speaking of delving, let's go on to Dota Might as they have not made quite as much headway as they are only in depth 215 here. We do have Rise QT again as the carry with Garatha mapping with him. Rise QT did get a little bit of an upgrade for his Queen of the Forest, but we'll go over that in the gear section. It does seem like they are running that shaped Wharf setup with Elder Underground Seas. Pretty much everybody across the board is just running this map. Unfortunately, Carve did rip again earlier today, and so he re-rolled into Deadeye, but he got to level 4 and went to sleep. So it will be interesting to see how much currency he can farm up by the time that Rise QT gets up to that 98 to 100, which is when they're really going to need it, as that's when they start putting on the Beyond onto every tier 16 for the experience. Raindog, what do you make of these teams?
So the kind of like we earlier we were always talking about the Avengers, then their redundancy, that they were able to have three people up there, high level, and now we can see that Gucci is no longer keeping up. He's falling behind on the XP. He's probably doing some delves or doing some stuff, and he still hasn't gotten his sixth link. And also, Ty just died, so now they're down to just one man, as all the other teams are. So they have used up all their redundancy, and they really need to get a crying. Just he needs to focus and just keep up the good work.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that Akrang needs to get at least one night's sleep before pushing on for that 100, but we could see it within the next session here. Gucci has stated before that typically the team will get to 97 and then do an all-out push to 100, but it does seem like Akrang has spent quite a lot of time awake. Last time he went to sleep, it was for only 3 hours, so definitely for his sake, physically. I mean, you can just tell by that clip if your support dies, you're gonna react in some way, whether that be really loud or just with some sort of you know, some vocality out there. But Crying had no reaction whatsoever to his support dying, so not even when called out by Gucci. So
So, and also he has to sort of readjust a little bit. There's higher risk without mapping with the support. It gives some extra damage, it gives some defenses. So he's playing an elementalist without a support with a carcass jack and a dodge based defense. He's very susceptible to dying without the support as well.
it definitely, I do think it would be in Kamel's best interest to boost up Tie 23 to that level 68 point, so long as Tie 23 can make it past the early levels. It is fairly difficult to level up a support in the mid to higher levels, so it would be nice to see him getting boosted around, carry through Blood Aqueducts a bit, and then Kamel just really playing that supportive role so that Akrine can have that support character once again by 20 Tie 23 here. I don't think we should
So
see it
if
from Gucci.
So if they haven't swapped in all the regrets for alchemies, is there like any reasonable way Camel can just respec into support, or would that just be too much doing?
Um, I think that might be a little bit too much currency for Kamel. It could be possible, but that's almost an entire tree respec. They can turn their scourings into regrets. I believe it's 2 to 1, and so that is a possible source of regrets for them. But that only
I I think scourings are sort of in demand. At least it seems like that when I'm following a Rice QT. So it's I don't think that I think they actually need. If they haven't traded in all their regrets for alchemies, they might have the possibility, but probably just leveling a new support. You can see that the same for Havoc as well. Like they're building it from scratch. So yeah. So heading over to Method. Method has been climbing really fast and doing really well. We have noted lately that they have really good gear. Cicerin seems to be on point, and even leveling without the support, he's doing like a fantastic push. He's the only one that's taking advantage of the rampage mechanic. I'm not sure if the other players haven't gotten the gear or prioritized it in any way, but that's definitely a good thing. Uh, there's actually some. I've seen some videos where people are actually using swords and stuff like the dancing dervish to just gain onslaught and then weapon swap it back, and you maintain the onslaught. That might be something that other teams should look into as well, because then you don't really need a weapon slot for your onslaught.
Yeah, so the thing with Bisco's leash and why a lot of people don't use it is
Sorry, Rampage.
yeah. So with Bisco's leash, it gives that cold res, but it does not give any life, and so a lot of these players are using their 130 life, with the exception of Rathalos using that bated breath, I believe, and so a lot of them are just concerned about the survivability at this point. And when you're mapping for 16 hours straight, you really don't want to concern yourself with swapping in your belt at the very start of the map. So I might put you off tempo at some point.
The dancing dervish is a weapon swap though, so that might be easier. But anyways,
Fair enough.
and another thing, Sis has gotten a super cool helmet. He's gotten the abyssal socket from
All
Delve
right.
on his helmet,
Mm-hmm.
and Nugen is pushing those delves super deep. Like the deeper you get, the more access to cities you get. The more cities you get, the more maps you get. So they really have an advantage at the delve part. And Nugen is doing a great job staying alive with his tabula, plus to tabula. Sort of two side notes for method is that Steel tried to level a Deadeye, probably for currency farming, died at level 72. We have that clip for later on. And also, Sis is sort of, I'm not sure if you should use the word abusing, but is taking advantage of the bug of the memories. So he always has I think it's the speech layout for all his memories.
So what actually happened there is that every player is abusing the beach memory. It's way too good. It's way better than every other memory fragment, but Zizarin accidentally clicked on one of them, and so he no longer has the beach one as of a few hours ago, and so he does have to run through those tight spaces, the dungeon layouts, those kind of things. Definitely not nearly as good as just running a circle around the beach. And so if you do run into the memory fragments on a new character, if you choose to not click on the little synthesis things, the little, I don't even know what you would call them, the memory fragments, I guess. Like if you go into them, run around in a circle and clear everything, it's super easy. You get all the monsters right there, and it's super easy to leave as the blue darkness does set in fairly quickly.
So, also as we mentioned, Havoc is respecting into support. We were discussing that a little bit in our past cast that they were one of the few teams that didn't go RF that might benefit for our support, and it looks like they're agreeing and leveling up their support. Heading over to Monkey Squad, we have, as always, a little less information. They just got overtook by Method. They're like head ahead in XP, and Ventura had his third death, so that's probably a little bit rough trying to get up there again. Maybe he can contribute some currency. And Leaf has been getting some XP, so I'm thinking probably Leaf is doing the delves. They have quite deep delves as well.
Makes sense.
So for Team Dodom, they're falling behind. They're like the team that has been awake for the least amount of time, but it's very unlikely that they'll be able to do the entire push without sleeping at all. So actually, that might not be an advantage for them. That they're, even though let's say that all the other teams just need one more rest before the ending, then it doesn't really matter when that comes.
Mm-hmm.
The car also ripped, and that was quite heartbreaking. And Rice was tilting as fuck because it was. They were just one prophecy away from getting the Pale Council. For those who don't know, the Pale Council gives access to the multimod, and that would be a quite significant damage upgrade for Rise and quite a significant defense upgrade for the support. In addition, they're still trying to locate Pyre, which will also give them a high damage upgrade, and that's a fairly common ring that hasn't dropped so far. So, um, I think they're feeling that stuff is working a little bit against them at the moment. And Carr was just sort of I think the sleep is lack of sleep is getting to him. He just went to bed after just getting the ranger made and didn't quite know what to do, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I do like your point there that Team Dotem here have had the most amount of sleep, and so It will be, interesting to see if they can push it out all the way to level 100 here. We might see one or two, power naps here and there, which do help out quite a lot during these sort of pushes. But we're only looking at maybe a couple more podcasts here until the end of it. So, any other thoughts on the teams here?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, the Cicerone that they're able to keep up so nicely without a support is super good. And I have no idea, like, if they actually get a support on Cis, and as Acroying lost his support, they might actually be able to get a higher XPM. And it doesn't take that much higher XPM to really start closing the gap over the last few levels because there's so much XP up there. Another side note is that we can see that two of the supports are now reserving quite a lot of their life, but none of them have got the chevrons. They got the Pormon's chevrons, allowing them to prevent chaos from bypassing the ES and those reserving some of their life. And Havoc was also taking advantage of the Heretic's Whale, which is a super nice helmet for the curse support, and the new curse gloves. So that's cool seeing the new item coming into use as well.
Yeah, I agree. It's really neat to see this different style of curse support since we didn't see quite the same from Tie 23 here or even Garatha, but it will be interesting to see this build in the end game when Zizarin is 99 or so. So, any
It's
sorry, go ahead.
it's like just a general note. It's pretty. It's like it's interesting, but of course it's a race that people want to go fast. But
Yep.
people are opting for the aggressive curse support for more damage rather than like Mana Guardian or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Any other thoughts on the teams here before we get into the profiles or the
No, I think
clips?
we should perhaps we should do the clips. I think I'm not sure if the Thai clip is readily available, so we can probably do that again, and then we can do Carves Rip, and I think also we have Steel's Rip as well, and
Uh,
some other clips.
all right. So I got those ready. This one is the Tie 23 rip here, just to show you once again, just to show how tired crying is. You can see that
What?
Tie 23 is taking quite a bit of damage over there. Gucci asks what's going on, but
Hi?
crying can't even respond. He's just in full robot mode here. Definitely is a little bit heartbreaking. Any comments on this rip or?
Oh, it's just like when you're not. It's sort of hard always playing the support. You have to keep up with your carry, and if you're not able to, you are the one who's dying. And he's getting the haste shrine, and he sort of gets locked up in the corner
Mm-hmm.
and cut off by the flame blast, and it's super hard. That's like you need to run the beyonds to get the high XP, but that also comes with a risk. And like if you get an Abaxot or something like that, you just have to run away if your damage isn't high enough to just instantly kill him.
Yeah, definitely. It does seem like there's a little bit of a delay there on the logout, so I mean, there's not much really that you can do. Just seemed like his character was there for a little bit longer than when he actually left the party, but it's you know, happens to the best of us. Going on to the next clip here. Let me see if I can find it. I think the Steel Mage grip is a good one. All right, we're going to the Steel Mage rip here. This is a Fizz Reflect map on a tier 1. He is just trying to get that XP going.
Oh my god, he died.
How did I die?
And you can see the Scourge arrow just destroyed him there. Or yeah, so what he does is he goes through, hits the lightning arrow, charges up the Scourge arrow from the right there,
Kill? Oh my
and
god.
and the little pods explode like half a second later, and
What?
he
How did I
dies
die?
super far away.
This wasn't a super consequential rip though, so it's
Correct.
so he was just trying probably to get a little more efficient currency farmer for his team, and he's probably just back to using his previous character. So
Yeah, definitely.
a little side note on the tie rip. So he was using the ephemeral edge, which gives him quite a lot of energy shield. He swapped that out for the scepter. What is it? It's the Supreme Truth Scepter, which gives him some extra XP
Oh
and
no.
less defense. So that might have been a factor in the rip as
Oh
well.
no. Oh man. Alright. Well, that is something to go over in the gear section. As far as the steel mage rip here, definitely is somewhat disheartening as that is quite a few wasted hours that could be spent doing things such as the chaos recipe or just being in those low tier maps would be super helpful for the team. Going on to the next clip here, we have the carve rip. Definitely pretty disheartening one.
From your thing, Carve? We got an Elder map from your
So
thing.
it does seem like a that Bane can get corrupting blood.
Okay. My lockout
Oh
map
my
didn't
god.
work. I was
What?
like literally standing still and trying to lock out. It didn't work.
Oh
Shit, dude.
No. No.
So I think he said that he had put like the bleed removal on some flask that he didn't normally use, and he was just smashing his keyboard and like probably not hitting the correct or something. I think he looked like he was really sleepy and didn't know quite what's going on. So
Yeah, definitely.
very disoriented, and it looks kind of silly when you die that way, but like most of us haven't been awake for like slept 3 hours over the last 40 hours and trying to function as a normal human.
Yeah, definitely. Very difficult there. Glad he's getting a little bit of sleep, but interesting to see if he will pick up the pace once again. And then we have two more here. I think the Havoc craft is worth noting. So I'm gonna bring that up here with the Scepter craft. Can see he crafts on the cast speed. The gain cold is extra chaos damage, and then the Regal here, just getting that juicy Void Scepter for the carry. That is an amazing weapon right there.
You actually won.
I think
You
I won.
actually- Oh, it's pretty close. You know, I think that's good.
Definitely pretty noteworthy there for Zizarin. And any comments on this one or?
Well, he smiled at the end. It seemed like stone faced for the entire video, and then finally he gave a little smile at the last second.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's see that smile. There it is. That's the Havoc 616 that we all know. Alright. And then the last one here is just a little bit of a mechanic that not a lot of people know about is well, I'll just let it play out.
I don't know. We did the Kavasi, we did it.
Yep. It does work. Wow. It works.
You can see there that the fossil did work on the map, and so that is one way of crafting maps if you wanted to, but it doesn't seem quite as effective as throwing those alchemies on there.
It works.
I
Alright.
think if you're lacking on alchemy, but the kind of funny thing is that it didn't seem like Nugian didn't even know that it worked. So,
Yeah, definitely. He
like something
seems.
that what you can do is like you can try to speculate using if you're sensitive to some kind of reflect mechanics. You can like craft with a lightning fossil to prevent physical reflect. I think. So you can do some stuff like that, but
Yeah,
it's basically just saving alchemies, and they're probably like getting a lot of fossils.
yeah, I definitely don't think it's something super noteworthy here. It's just a fun little mechanic. Any
Maybe
other?
you can, maybe you can craft with dense fossils to prevent the creatures having extra HP.
Maybe. Any other clips, or are we just hopping straight into the gear?
I think we can hop straight into the gear.
All right. Let me bring it up. Alright, so first I'm gonna bring up the ladder here with the experience bar. You can see Zizaran got a nice, juicy, what looks to be like a 10-hour sleep here. Yeah, nice little 9-10 hour nap. No, we do have a 9-hour nap for Zizaran, so he definitely did go to sleep, and he just pushed XP. As we've mentioned in the last one, he started to fall off a tiny bit after the podcast, but he has stabilized and reached that rank 2 position there for Method, pretty much securing it for the time being. You can see that Rise QT Team Dota might have gone to sleep for what seems to be about 4 hours, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, about 5 hours of sleep, so definitely the minimum there. And then Rathalos only putting in three and crying, doing the same. Worrying a little bit about their sleep schedules here, but what do you make of them pushing themselves so hard?
So I think for such a short time, it's clearly doable. But of course, they're increasing the risk, and you can get the rips like you see with Carve and other like the support rip earlier. Like that is the risk when you're actually pushing yourself that hard. You're getting super tired. You're not focusing. You're going on autopilot, and there's been studies that show that like driving while tired is more dangerous than driving while drunk. So if you ever come home from town, sitting down before the computer trying to do a few levels of your hardcore character, and then you wake up the next morning, not a good feeling.
Yeah, I've definitely been there before. Well, not quite with the hardcore thing, but one of the gimmicks that I used to do is I used to play for about 40 hours straight every league start, and that wasn't sustainable. So recently I've been doing 30 hours, but even that just feels like way too much. And so to see these players push themselves, it is fairly I don't want to say admirable, but definitely impressive for some of the mental fortitude of some of these players. Definitely pushing on up there. Looking at the characters here, we do have them ready. We have Alakrian with pretty much the same gear as last time, so I'm not really going to go over it too much. You can see he's using the same belts and everything, and pretty much everything is stuck standard the same. Just going to go over the tree. You can see any differences that have occurred in the past day, and so obviously still a mentalist.
Everything seems to be the same to me.
Yep.
Maybe have a look if they have some jewel crafting. Maybe that's something that they might do during the later time.
Yeah, so they did pick up this hypnotic jewel here in the Scion to Witch area in the top right. They didn't have this jewel earlier, and so it is pretty nice to see that Crying does have quite a bit of extra life because of it, with the little bit of lightning damage since he is dual wielding. And I believe that's the same res ring, and we just used this jewel, and this is the same one that used to go in his belt. So yeah, pretty much the same here. Any comments on Crying?
Now he just has to learn to survive without his support now. So
It,
have to perhaps do a little less risk and but not fall behind and get caught by Cicerone. They have quite a big lead though, so it's but Cicerone seems to be catching up a little bit. He has like 5% more XP or something, almost 10.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the best strategies that Team Avengers could employ here is for everybody to go to sleep for a solid, 6 hours or so. Maybe just five would be good enough. And then Crying can sustain and run his lower tier shaped maps, things such as the shaped toxic sewers, their shaped tier 13s and 14s. And then by the time that they're done running all of those, maybe include the shaped graveyards even, but most likely won't need to do that. So just their tier 12 through 14s. By the time that Tide 23 reaches back up to that level 68, they will have a large, like massive pool of tier 15s and 16s to run super juiced up and everything like that. And so it will be very interesting to see if they do employ another support, or like you said, if they do opt to put Kamel on support, as they do have quite a lot of chaos now. I just don't know if it'll be enough to push all the way to 100 yet, but they do have over 200 chaos, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
So a side note there is like if we look at the progression from the racing side, the estimate is that they will reach level 98 in 40 minutes, and Cicerone is 240. So they're just 2 hours ahead of Cicerone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely pretty interesting there. Going on to the next character here with Zizaran, we do have that scepter that Havoc crafted that we showed earlier with the gain cold as extra chaos. You know, the cast speed, the lightning damage, the cold damage. It would be pretty good, I think, in my opinion, to maybe slam this, but maybe they don't have quite the currency. Again, pretty much most of the gear is the same except for the helmet, as noted earlier. With that additional abyssal socket and the delve life craft on there, it does mean that they can craft life. So this is a 95 life helm with 3% max life, not even counting the hypnotic eye jewel that gives an additional 40. Any thoughts on the gear here?
He has picked up a Might of the Meek, I think.
Oh, has he? Alright, let's go ahead and check that
Let's
out.
hopefully I haven't imported the wrong character, but I think he's imported the Might of the Meek.
Alright, so we can close out a crying here. I believe this is Crying's tree. So we can just open this bad boy up. You can see that Zizaran is opting for that duration down here. Wait, is he missing the most important duration node? He is. He's missing exceptional performance for some reason. Maybe just, you know, focusing in on that life, but that is quite a lot of duration there. Uh,
Yeah, it should be down in the center there. In the that's a
oh,
Might of the
that's why he can't go Might of the Meek, is because the notable passive within the radius would be that exceptional performance. It definitely is super good for the Scion Life Wheel, as it makes all of these little life nodes give 50% increased effect, along with these little duration nodes and these resist nodes here are giving quite a bit more. And so it is just barely out of the range of Constitution, and so he does get maximum benefit from it. So that is my fault there for talking about grabbing exceptional performance. Anything else you want to note about Zizaran here?
He has a lore viv now, according to my path of building.
Uh,
Is that the same update as you have?
oh, he just got it actually from the previous 6 link. Wow, definitely a really big upgrade for Team Method here. Even though Lore Weave was nerfed and it no longer gives 80% resistances, the 78% is still really, really big. And it is a really nice chess piece as well to get that extra elemental damage.
Not
Interest
bad. We have like 2 set of breaking news in this cast.
Interesting how it just happened though. Maybe there's a clip or something. Let me go ahead and check it out. No, doesn't seem to be any link to the clip here. Definitely pretty interesting. We might actually see Method take over for rank 1, as they are you know, on track to catch up to Ty, or not Ty, but Crying in just a few hours. And considering the fact that Crying needs at least 3 more hours of sleep, it will be interesting to see who can pull it out in the end.
So I'm not sure if this just of course it's some RNG, but I feel like all the way, even when Cicerone and the guys were like falling a little bit behind after the death, have been paying super attention to the gear. The gear has been top end all the way, and it's really paying off. Cicerone is putting that to good work, and like good scepter is having the 6 link, is having like everything is working out very nicely for them gear wise.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe Ty's death there could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, but I mean, quite literally in this case with Kamel. But will be interesting to see who ends up taking that rank 1 spot. All it takes is one death at level you know, 98 or 99, and then it doesn't really matter, you know. But as you've mentioned before, Team Avengers do not quite have as much insurance in Gucci, as Gucci is, you know, only level 95 and not that 97, which is pretty much across the board here. Any other comments on Zizaran here before we go over to Rathalos?
Now we can jump to the next one.
Alright, so not really any changes whatsoever on Rathalos. The only thing I'd like to note is that he has not divined his chess piece from 5% to 6%. Recovery of max ES and kill. But other than that, we can just take a little Look, see at his screen as it is passive tree here. Maybe he gets one or two more nodes since we last talked, but or just a couple nodes. But other than that, it does look like he's just filling out the ES here. Not too much to talk about. It does seem like he took out this energy shield from earlier, but maybe I am a little delusional. Not quite sure, but pretty stock standard righteous fire. Anything to comment here about Rathalos?
No, it's just as I said, like with the Cicerone, they're constantly looking for upgrades, but Raphalos is just running with the same gear over and over. I'm not sure how easy it is to get significant upgrade that will actually increase his clear speed that much, but it's a very interesting note. It seems like it's clearly a different strategy. I think they are spending quite some resources trying to craft on the method squad, and perhaps to just feeding everything into double beyond and stuff like that.
So personally, from when I've pushed Isla Righteous Fire to 100, I noticed myself identifying a ton of jewelry and things like that, and like the big ES bases, the titanium spirit shields and the sorcerer gloves. But I found that I didn't really need them all that much, for a marginal upgrade, unless it was going to be really big. So I think the best move for Team Monkey Squad here would be to craft, some really juicy items, but other than that, there's not going to be too much to pick up here by Rathalos. In a lot of cases, these upgrades just aren't as mandatory as getting those maps ready and pushing on for more chaos, so that Rathalos can just permanently be in those Beyond maps or Bloodlines map, depending on what he's rolling. But as there is no stream, it is fairly hard to keep up. Hey,
Hmm.
any other comments on Rathalos here?
No, I guess we can. I think we should do Rise, and then we could maybe do the respec of Havoc as well.
Yeah, sure. Let's go over Rise here. So, wait a second. Rise QT with the Dying Sun does appear like that's a pretty big pickup. Definitely an amazing item for Winter Orb with the +2 additional projectiles. I don't know if that's recent or not, but an
It's
increased.
very recent. They have been trying to farm Shaper for it for a
Ah,
while, so I
okay.
think you just got it a few minutes ago. I can see if they clipped it.
Alright. Yeah, the increased area effect definitely helps out quite a lot. There's pretty much perfect rolls across the board with the 9% reduced charges, as well as the 25% increased area effect. Really well rolled Dying Sun, although it doesn't really make that much of a difference. What you really want here is just the base flask. I mean, it could get rid of the other two and just be skills fired 2 additional projectiles, and it would still be an amazing flask. And so with this Winter Orb shooting out 2 additional projectiles per shot, on that level 2120 Winter Orb definitely juices him up by quite a lot, especially in those tier 16s. We will still see him put up the deeps quite a bit more. You can see here that he has done the Varici safe house for the 1 to 3 wide sockets here. It does look like he got those 2 white sockets, making it much easier for him to put in those off sockets for him. Definitely just makes it super nice so that he can have access to that increased duration. It does look like he got rid of his third green gem here. I believe it was hypothermia, but pretty good strategy by Team Dotemite here. Not much else to talk about really. Oh, this does look a little bit new on this Opal ring with the cold damage leech his life. Not really noticing anything super special here compared to last time, but other than that, let's go check out the
Uh,
passive tree.
we can probably do the clip afterwards. I found the clip in Vagel's stream, so I
All right.
pasted it in the.
So we have Rise QT here, just picking up more of the life nodes as he moves on up to his way to 100. Will be interesting to see if he gets rid of these nimbleness, his cast speed and crit nodes here. Most likely won't, but that would be quite a bit of extra survivability there for Rise QT, or if he even opts to choose to go out of like the increased air effect. But he definitely does need those jewel sockets pushing on up into the higher levels. With these 2-point jewel sockets, we most likely will see those being used at some point, but Raiskyuchi just looking very tanky and in a pretty good spot overall, especially with that Dying Sun.
So sort of, I'm not sure about this. So he's using the Brawn Crimson Jewel, which is corrupted to prevent corrupted blood. Is it just that prevention of corrupted blood is so good that it is just using a mediocre jewel, or is he benefiting from the bronze jewel lists?
So this is entirely just for the implicit here. The corrupting blood does get a little bit scary as you do move up into the amount of hours played without sleep. And seen firsthand with Carve. We would never say that Carve is a super bad player by any means, but when you play these super long hours, you're prone to dying to things like corrupting blood or bearers, and so being immune to one of those is just an easy way out. And so this may be substituted in with a higher or a better rolled jewel here, but so far the corrupting blood immunity is definitely super nice pickup. Anything else to know here about Rise QT until we move on to the clip?
And I think it also allows him to just remove the staunching from his flask as well. It seems like he's getting rid of when he's getting substituting in the dying sun, he removed one of his utility flasks. I don't think he has any staunching right now.
Hmm.
So
I do think that corrupted blood is not quite the same thing as bleeding, and so you can still get the bleeding affect on you, but chances are it's not
yeah,
going to be too big of a deal.
that is correct. But the bleed sort of scales off the hit and it doesn't stack. So it's usually, as long as you're not running around too much, you're usually able to. Like, the corrupted blood is often much scarier because if you have the winter orb, I ripped one of my characters to a beast with proximity shield and corrupted blood, and the winter orb isn't able to stop shooting at it. It just keeps going. So it's you're stacking those corrupted blood charges super fast.
Right, definitely very scary. Moving on to the clip here with Waggle. Let's see this ending of the Shaper kill here.
Getting E10.
In. Holy fuck, I thought he was gonna go invuln. We're lucky. Oh
get it?
my god. Yeah, we're good. Just chill.
Oh, you dropped boots, right? Just guessing.
Okay.
Waggle doesn't even know how to react, but chat certainly does. Definitely a super good kill there. I don't know if that's their first kill, but it does seem a little interesting that he is calling in for most of the team to come in at that time. So somewhat interesting there. All right. Anything to comment about until we look at Havoc's profile here?
So like, I think that Ruby Flask is like, it's important, but it's like at this current stage for for Rice. I think that's sort of one of the things that could get them to push a little bit harder today, because after Carve died, they haven't gotten the Pyre. Everything has been working against them. They've been falling behind. They were second like one day ago. They were in second place, doing really well, and now they're finally getting something going their way. So I think this flask could be more valuable than just the damage and the projectiles.
Yeah, definitely. Might also be that morale boost that they're just looking for. Moving on to Havoc 616 here, he is running the Ephemeral Edge, learning from Tide 23. We will take a look at Tide 23's profile with the Supreme Truth just to see the item. But the Ephemeral Edge is super defensive. He's got a cast when damage taken, a Mortal Call in there, just level 1s. Purity Fire is for his for Zizaran there. The Poacher's Mark, Temporal Chains, Assassin's Mark, and Enfeeble are all benefited by Heretic's Veil, which does make it so that Cursed Gems are socketed by Blasphemy level 22, and that they have reduced mana reservation. Definitely a good pickup there. Interesting to see that he doesn't opt for a +1 Cursed Amulet, but not quite sure he's getting those 4 curses out. But if you look at the rest of the gear, he does have a really high energy shield here. So he's got the Hatred, Generosity, and Lighten. Not quite sure how effective the Hatred is when he's grouping up with Zizaran, or if he will group up with Zizaran at some point. It does seem like he has the Ball Haste and the Ball Discipline with increased duration, and Phase Run to help him run around quite a bit. He does have the Purities, the remaining 2 Purities. The elemental weakness and just the flame dash here. Not too much to comment about that, but he does have the smite set up as we mentioned with Tide 23 with the generosity, just giving that extra lightning damage. And interestingly enough, he has ancestral call to make it so that he doesn't quite need as much accuracy as Tide 23 does. So basically, what it means is that Havoc can stand pretty far away from the monster and still be perfectly capable of hitting them. Looking on the flasks here, we have the Experimenter's Jade Flask of Reflexes, the Stibnite Flask of Warding, the Alchemist Quicksilver Flask of Adrenaline, the Granite Flask of Staunching, the Ample Silver Flask of Heat. Anything you want to comment about here with the gear before we get into the passive?
So I'm not sure how he's leveling at the moment. He might just being that steel is carrying in or something, that is just supporting steel while getting some XP. And I would guess it might be swapping out like the ring and maybe the unique ring and the unique boots after a while, getting some better gear there when he's starting to map with Sis. Um, it seems like very reasonable. He's a little bit low. He's like, well, not that bad. It's 1800 life, 6000 ES, so it's okay.
Alright, moving into the passive tree here. Someone asked what's the update. The update is Avengers are in first place, but their support, Tie 23, just died. Second place will be Method with Scissorin pushing on ahead. Third place is Team Monkey Squad with Rathalos holding it down with that Isle of Righteous Fire build. And Team 4 with Dodomite with Rise QT just with the newly acquired Dying Sun. Definitely being able to push on. Looking at the Havoc 616 Curse support bot here, it does seem like he opts for the Blood Magic low life, getting the extra auras, going just full aura bot compared to Tide 23, who was sort of a mixture of different skills there, using the Conqueror's efficiency as usual for the support, and just getting was using wait what? Oh, this one's efficiency and this one's potency. I see. This one's for flasks and curses, and this one is for the less mana reservation. Of course, picking up all the aura nodes on the tree, and does seem like his energy shield is fairly low. Do you have any exact numbers on that?
Yeah, he has 5-9,
Hmm.
and his unreserved life is less than 300.
Hmm. Definitely pretty interesting. So the Solaris Lorica does keep him fairly safe, as the chaos damage does not pass on through that energy shield, but it doesn't do quite as much in the way of mitigating chaos damage quite as much. But will be interesting to see if Scissorin does get that support going. Any comments here for Havoc 616?
It's very similar to what Gorada is doing, right? And he's also complaining about staying alive, so they're sort of like wet tissue paper supports. So hopefully they are able to stay alive, and it will be very interesting to see what kind of speed Sis can put up once they get their support up and running. Another thing that I'm wondering about is do you think they just underestimated the value of the support, or is this like a planned out strategy, waiting to see if they get the right equipment, like the Solaris and the Heretics Veil, before actually rolling a support?
So it is possible that this was planned out from the beginning, but I mean, things like this, like you would want your support to be there through most of the experience, at least through the mid game. And since we are moving into the final stages here, the last quarter, I would say, of the race, or last third of the race, really. It is possible that they did plan for this, as Havoc 616 is pretty much map ready. By all means, it's just a little squishy here. I mean, still seems like they're missing a tiny bit of gear, in my opinion, for mitigating the chaos damage. But uh, I mean, as you said, it could be just completely part of the plan, as a lot of his energy shield gear is what's going to keep him alive through this. Any remaining comments for Havoc here?
No, I think we're good.
All right. And then just as one last sweep, I wanted to look at what Tide 23 is doing. So it does look like Tide 23 is re-rolling into that witch, most likely going for the support once again. He has a ton of leveling gear here with the Life Sprig, the Gold Rim, the Wanderlust, the Perandus, the Loctonial, and I mean just the double Quicksilvers with Adrenaline here. Definitely going to be able to just blast on ahead, really. Looks like he is going the stock standard Stormbrander, I believe. Yeah, Stormbrand added lightning damage and onslaught. Will be able to level pretty quickly. Tide 23 is one of the best levelers in the world, regardless of my opinion or not. And so he should be up there fairly shortly, maybe just a few hours. So we should be up and running at least by the next show. Any
Would they be used? Would they be utilizing Camel with him, like in the beginning, like getting him perhaps once he reaches map, just mapping a little bit with Camel and letting Camel kill stuff? He has a 5 link with the orb right now, so that's
yeah,
probably like the fastest XP, right?
Yeah, there would be a potential option that they, or potential path that they can go down. But currently, Kamel is just running around picking up as many rares as he can, doing as many chaos recipes as he can, just really trying to generate that currency for crying, being able to put on the Zona map mods on every single map, just juicing up his XP. But we are seeing the detriments of, or a the downsides of sleep deprivation. So it will be interesting to see what the team does in the next 12 hours. Any other comments before we go?
Maybe like I know there's been I think it was Sis and Nugian that did like a speed leveling run using Delve. So, and Gucci probably has enough sulfite as well. Like you can basically just join his cavern at level 1 or whatever level the Delve starts, and then you can do the perfect XP, and Gucci can just run in front, killing everything.
Yeah.
So that would probably be the fastest leveling, and then he has like a super high level and just runs through the acts in probably like 2 hours.
It would be interesting to see if he can, or if they do offer that strategy. But with Tide 23 here, I do believe he should be able to run through the axe in at least like 3 hours. So it shouldn't even be too much of too much of a risk here for such a good player. In all honesty,
But
any other?
what level does it need to be useful for? Like, at what level can it actually map with crying again? Do you think?
At least 68 would be like the bare minimum. But hopping straight into those tier 16s at level 68 will leave them very susceptible to, taking a ton of damage and just heading back to that Twilight Strand. And so we might see them up to, have Crying or Gucci, map around with Tie 23 here just to get them up to that level 80 region, and then we might just see them group up once again. But definitely will be interesting to see what strategy they employ here to have Tie 23 catch up, as he is no longer going to be you know, one of the potential outlets to level 100.
Another like interesting thing is that he didn't really have that much critical gear. Like he doesn't need the links. He didn't have any like super critical uniques or anything like that. So it should be pretty easy to get him up and running again, like at a similar level that he was before.
Yeah, definitely with that 5 link and just, I mean, I guess the chess piece would be the best piece here with the 500 ES, but definitely a little interesting that he opted to choose out of or opt out of the ephemeral edge, or as you mentioned, the supreme truth. But I mean, there's not too much that you can really plan for. Nobody plans to rip, so just an unfortunate death there. And anything else you'd like to comment about?
No, I think I'm. But as I told you earlier, you have to do the next broadcast alone, and then I will join you in 24 hours.
All right, sounds good to me. Okay, this is it for, I believe this is number 5 now, if I'm not mistaken. That's gonna be it from us, you guys. Good luck in the upcoming race, everybody who's tuning in. And or if you're tuning in from being one of the racers. And so that's gonna be it for today. Have a good day, everyone. I'll see you again in 11 hours here.